everybody on this bright and cheery day. I have come to the conclusion that yesterday was not Monday. Today is Monday. I completed the video this morning. Early, it was early. And then I was doing something and realized my video was going in and out. And it was like, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, oh, that time spent. And it's fine. Nothing I have better to do than create another lovely video. But no, I did. I started uploading it, had it almost uploaded. It was like, no, I'm not uploading that video. There's just no way. Because it cut out sections of it that it needed. And I'm like, and I didn't even push the pause button. So, for whatever reasoning, who knows? So I banned my animals. I think what they may have done is, because of how it's plugged in, they can walk over my cord, and sometimes they unplug it or step on it, or I got one cat that's fascinated with the cord that hooks to my camera. I have no idea. He doesn't play with any other cords in here. I don't have a lot of cords on the floor as it is. Everything is up. So, that video got scratched. I'm not uploading it. It's really, really, it reminds me of the old, those black and white movies like Charlie Chaplin, where you see everybody just going like this. And that's what was happening. It would go really fast and then slow down. Like, this is not happening. And I'm not editing it. I'm not spending all that time to edit a video like that. So, what this video is about is I'm going to show how I made a placemat, kind of, but there's another part of it that I wanted to show you, because you can also use this technique to make quilts. And what it is making whatever you're making so you don't have to use a binding. And this particular placemat, in a previous video, I showed you where I had purchased some fat quarters that had bumblebees on them. And this is what. And this basically is still a log cabin quilt. It's just done, and they call this traditionally a courthouse stairs. And a traditional log cabin is, you start on one side, and there's usually only 2 squares here. And you start on one side, go to the other, then you go to the dark, and you're doing it around, like this, all the way around. The courthouse stairs one, and especially this one here, is 2 lights on the outside, 1 dark in the center. And that becomes how it sits this way. And then you go, this is the sides, okay? Then this is the top and the bottom. And then on the bottom and the top, you put 2 darks. Now I did mine so that they're the same on each side, and top and bottom, but you don't have to. That's just what I did, because I wanted to find a one that I could use, that I liked, because it is a placemat. And then you do top, and this is not working. Okay, you do the top, and then you do the 2 sides, which you do a light color. Then you go to the top and the bottom and do a dark, and then you go do side to side with the lights, and the top and the bottom with a dark. The difference in this one here is you have to put an additional border on each side, and that's what makes it a rectangle color. And I will do another video exactly how this is done, but my brain has to say this is Tuesday, not Monday. So I mean, it's user friendly. I don't cut the strips, they're just done in big strips. But I will make another one. This will be the 3rd one I made, so I have 1 more to go to the thing. But, and how I quilted this one is just making a square and a square and a square, and it quilts like this. I use black on my background because I wanted for, I did it specifically for the video to show you. And of course you quilt it from the front, but in the back it looks like this from the back. So it looks pretty cool. I mean, you could do all kinds of cool and interesting things on the back to where it shows up, but it doesn't show up on the front, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be more on the back. And you could actually do this if you really wanted to. You could have this reversible by making 2 of these. And I'll show you, I'll get the other one. This other one I'm not going to quite finish, but this one I will finish with you right here. So let's put these 2 together. You just have to remember the other one's still inside out. But you have it this way, and you could do reversible. You could put a completely different block on the other side so that you have a reversible placemat. The uniqueness about this one, if you look at this block, it's not missing an item. I left it off, and that is a binding, because there is a way to put these quilts together. Quilts, placemats, pot holders, anything that has a back and a front. It isn't necessary that you have to put a binding. A lot of clothing the same way. When you're putting your lining, you can do it the same way. You're just basically creating something inside out. And how you do that is, okay, and here again, this is my back with all the strings. I haven't used a roller on it. It's real simple. This is just a pet roller. It takes off all the deals. And let me get my design board. I always forget I have that thing. Other than the colors are the same. I gotta make a design board with a different color. I do have other colors of fleece. This is fleece. But you just take your roller and it will take all that off. It just takes it off. And it's sticking to that because it's fleece. And what you're doing when you want to do this is, again, you have whatever you're using as your batting, whether it's actual batting, interfusible or fusible interfacing, fleece, flannel, whatever you're using. That's the piece that's going to go here. Then you have your backing fabric. Pretend this has not been finished. You have your backing fabric. So your fleece, or your whatever you're using for your inside for padding, or you don't have to have one. It wouldn't be as stiff. But then you're going to put your backing fabric, and your top piece will be face to face on top of whatever you're using to sandwich them with. So you would have, normally this is in between, this one it's on top, okay? Because you're going to sew on the back side of your top, and you're going to sew pretty much all the way around, but leave, like this is sewed all the way around. You're going to leave a space between here so you can get your hand. You need to be able to get your hand inside there. So if your hand's bigger, you just have to do a bigger space. I wouldn't recommend it any smaller than, I don't know, what is this? It's, yeah, about 6 inches. I wouldn't recommend it any smaller than that because it's hard to get it through. But you just stick your hand in there. Oh, don't forget, on your little corners, and I didn't cut that corner, so I can actually show you. on your corners, after you sew that together, you're just going to cut them at an angle. I guess I just missed one corner. That's weird. You just need to cut, cut a little notch. Doesn't have to be, just a little tiny notch. It's so that there's not so much bulk in the corner. And as soon as I find where my opening is, there you are. You just stick your hand in there, and where this point is, I just take your finger. First, I have nails, but you just take your finger and your inside hand, grab a hold of that corner. Okay. Then you're going to ease it out the hole. Don't like play tug a rope, because you can rip your seams out doing that. So you just want to kind of ease it out the hole, because like I said, you're turning it. You create it inside out, and then you're just turning it. Okay. Now everything's out the hole. Put your hand back through the hole, and then you just kind of go to the corners. You can poke your finger in there, just don't poke it through. There's turning tools, like I have one. It's actually the end of a chopstick, and I just use it. I rearranged some of my stuff, so I'm not sure where it's at, but it's here. If not, I'll go make another one. It's not, I have chopsticks in the kitchen. I have little dowels too, but you want to poke out all those little corners. Okay, see? And just remember, there are 4 corners. So you want to make sure they come to as much of a point as possible. See, it's a nice point. And then your 4th one, and I have a string. Oh, it's not attached. Cool. And you just punch out all 4 of those corners. But this method can be used on anything that has a back and a front. And what you want is, now I'm going to try and show you. You don't want to be able to see the back from the front, or the front from the back. See how you can kind of see that flowery thing? You don't want to see that. So you want to make these pieces as flat as possible, so they're right in the center. And how sometimes, let me see if I made one that was bumpy. Okay, like this. See, it's kind of stuck in. You can do a couple things. You can open the seams from inside, but what I find is the easiest is just to stick your finger back in that hole and just kind of pull along the seam, and that's going to tell you 2 things: whether you got your seam strong enough or not, or sometimes I've missed a seam and didn't realize it. You find it real quick doing this, and then you just kind of pinch it together, roll it in your fingers, and you just want to have those seams so that they're flat. See? And again, you don't want to be able to see the back from the front. And again, you can do this with quilts as well. It's the same process that you do if you've ever made a comforter, because they're big poofy and they have that big, the batting is high loft. Usually it's really, really thick, and this is how you do it with them. and it's sometimes easier than doing binding. You don't have to worry about the binding, but this is what you get, like this. And at this point here, before you quilt, this opening where it opens, you want to fold this in 1/4 of an inch, or whatever size you used for your seam. Whatever size, that's what you fold it in as. If you use 1/4 of an inch, you're going to fold the back and the front in 1/4 of an inch. And you can either, because you're just going to barely sew right at the very end. You don't really want it noticeable. I do on mine because I wanted to top stitch that side, but that's just me. I top stitch. It's that's a personal preference, but you don't have to. These are really easy if you want to hand stitch. It's not that big of a section. Hand stitching, you're just going to put the needle inside, pull it out, put it across, go up, and your stitches come together. You just don't want to pull them real tight because they don't make like a crinkly thing, but you want to do it so they don't. It's the same as using the blind stitch setting on a sewing machine. But I think this one, the other one I top stitch. This one I'm probably just going to hand stitch. Okay, then after you have that hole closed, you can take this and pin it in the center, or however you want to do it, and you're just going to go, if you look, I'm going to hold it this way. If you look at this, it's a block in a block in a block. If you forget, like, for doing this binding, forget that there's a piece here and a piece here. You're going to right stitching in the ditch, which means right inside that seam. You're going to quilt it right around there. Then you're going to go to the next square, which is this one here. You're going to go right in the ditch with it, and just do a straight stitch. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then your third block is right here, where you have your third one, right here. And then your final one is to do, see if I can hold it up here so you can see. Your final one is to just do straight down here and down here. So if you look on the one I actually have completed, it looks like that, minus the strings. That's it. That's the only thing, that's the one dislike I have about white fabrics, and the sun's coming in bright, so it's shining through that window, and creates a shadow on the screen. I am so sorry about that. But that's just, you know, it's an easy placemat. It's very beginner friendly, but it's different, and really different, even though it is yellow. And I thought about using, you know, normally I do like the scrappy look, but this time when I was looking, I wanted so it didn't have let me see if I can pull that, there we go, because I had those 2 bundles of that bumblebee fabric, and 2 bundles isn't really enough to make a big quilt unless you put that with other colors. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use it as a whole into making something where I didn't want to add a whole bunch of new colors to it to do something with. I wanted it together with the same hues. And for this one, for this particular, to do it this way, you need 5 dark colors and 3 lights. One of those lights could be white. I didn't use any pure white. My colors are, and I'll show you on this one. These all, as you know, if you looked at the other video, this was part of a fat roll bundle, with the exception of this dark. And it's just some scraps I have. These 3 right here, these 3 centers, 1 dark and 2 lights. And this light is a kind of a yellow, and this one is, I don't know, it's it was a piece of a scrap, but it actually has, I have ones with blue flowers. Well, you can see it on this one. I left the blue flower. It's the same material, just a different section of the fabric. Like this one, see, that's the same exact material that's on that one. And when I did this, I had this yellow on this side. Well, it's not going to really make any difference, but I wanted to do it the same way. And like this center with the little flowers, it's it's the same as this one. It was just another section of this fabric that's got just these really wildflowers. No, well, there's an orientation to them, but how I chose to do it, you can't really see the orientation. But you need 6 different darks and 3 lights. Those darks could be scrappy, however you're doing it, or if you choose to make it to where these are 2 different colors instead of the same, you can do that. You just have to add more darks. I just chose to do, see, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is your 5th dark. On your lights, you have 1, 2, and 3. There's where your lights are. And then, of course, you have to have your backing, which you could piece your backing together. It's just, if you're going to piece your backing together, when you put this backing on whatever you're using as batting, put it at an angle when you go to sew it. And when you put it at an angle on your batting, what that does is, because you're going to straight sew, you're not going to sew it at that same angle. So when you sew it on there, when you put something at an angle, what that does is it makes it so because usually the feed dog side of the machine is the one that's going to pull. So when you create something, sew it like when part of it's on an angle, it's going to pull that through and not stretch the fabric. It's going to pull it through. So it's just a little tip that I learned. I don't know if that's anybody else uses that, but I just learned that when I put my batting on, I never put it on straight. I put it at an angle, and that's why I create my batting and my backing. If I'm using backing, my backing and my batting are slightly crooked compared to what I'm putting on. And then when I still do it on this, but if I'm actually putting a binding, when I sew the quilts, actually sandwich them, the batting and the backing sit crooked at an angle, so that when I sew straight, that angle's still there, but you don't really see it. You can't see it unless you're doing something in the on the backing that makes it super noticeable. And then I'm like, who is checking out the back of a quilt? Not many people look at the quilt on the back. It's rare. Aside from, I've done a few quilts to where it is reversible. It's got 2 different designs on each side, so it is reversible. And when you do that, you can hide what you don't want people to see. Kind of like if anybody's seen my live on Jess's, it was So Blessed by Jess. Oh yes, I remember. I showed my Borgello, and it was done that way. It was done in strips, but I did it in panels, and the panels are crooked. And from the back, you can see how it got sewed together. But from the front, you can't see. It just looks like it's sewed in strips, but it's really not. It's sewed in sections of panels. It was because I didn't want it a typical Borgello, and I had some people asking me for a pattern. I never thought, when I do something, I don't think about making a pattern. I just kind of do it. And I guess what I really should be doing is, I make notes. My notes are like when I was putting this together. These are my notes. It's like, yeah, I could take a picture of that, but people would go, what in the world? And then I make, example. Let me show you. Now think about the quilt behind you. See where I did, where I put dark in the center, light, light, dark, dark, light, light. And under here And this is where I don't really know how to make a picture and put it under the directions, but this right here is my notes that say exactly what you need if you want to cut your strips, instead of doing like I just have a long strip and then I sew it on the machine and then I fold the fabric in half and cut it. But I will actually have exact directions written underneath, at least as far as the pieces that you need. I haven't figured out, I'll have to figure that out, how to add an actual document that makes a pattern, and so that people can click on it and download it. It's part of the Google, and I just don't have a shared drive yet. All my stuff is on my Google Drive, but I don't have a section set aside for sharing yet. And I don't know. I just haven't gone there. It's not that hard to do. It's your settings, and you set a specific. My hair gets I got fans running in here, and it starts flying in my hair, and I can tickle it. It tickles my nose. But that's what I'm doing now. I have another block that I'm going to do today. I started it and I have it hidden because it's a secret. It's a cool one. It's a block, and you take 4 of them, put it together, and makes a wall hanging. And it's back to using my bright colors, and I like those because they stand out. And this one again, I'm going to use the black as a background because I have lots of bright colors up there and they look good. I mean, they stand out okay on white, but when I want them to pop, I use black. And then I was looking the other day and I'm like, I just realized I have very few light colors, so I'm going to have to send the other half to Walmart to hunt down some light colors. I don't have very many lights. I really don't. Most of mine are darks, and unless you're faced with the situation of you need light colors, it's like, wait a minute, I don't have no light colored hues. I do, but they're like stripes and checks. Yes, I like stripes and checks, but they have their purpose. And some of the things, like I was going to do this in there, and it's like, no, I want the bumblebee. And I have the same hue but in yellow, but it's the checkers thing. It just didn't look right in the quilt, even though the colors went. It just didn't. It took away from what the quilt was, and I wanted it to keep that bumblebee theme of where it looks like, oh, come here, it does. It looks like, a honeycomb. I never could figure out on this one why they called it the courthouse stairs, because that's not what it looks like to me. To me, if you look at this, it reminds me of the hydraulics on my chair, where this part is the hydraulics, and this is those cup things that go down, and then you have one that goes up the same way, and then this is the seat you're sitting on. So, or if you turn it this way, it looks like those like hand weights that people use, and that's just me. I just look at strange things. It's like, who names this stuff? I have no idea. To me, I don't know. It doesn't look like stairs. I just don't. I mean, I've thought, okay, so you're looking at a hole with 2 stairs. No, it doesn't even look like that. So I'm not sure who names these. Some of these quilt blocks are really strange named that I can't figure out why they're named that way. But again, thank you everyone for watching this video. It wasn't exactly what was meant to be, but I got to show you how you can create placemats or pot holders, or even a quilt. You can do the same thing where you don't have to use the binding, and you just sew it inside out and then do it, and then just top stitch it or close it. It works. Binding is a strange thing. Some people get it, some people don't. My areas that I had issues with was the log cabin. I just couldn't get how it was designed. So for like 3 days in a row, all I did was make log cabin blocks. I made them in every color you could imagine and did them in all kinds of ways until I even did them paper piecing, because I wanted to see the difference. It's like something in my brain, my lost brain there, wasn't catching how I did it. So after I did it with the paper piecing and the numbers, I went, oh, duh, it's the same way. No matter what colors you use. You use light on one side, dark on the other, dark all the way around, light in the center, or like the one where you make the log cabin and using 2.5 inch strips, and then your light colored strips are 1.5 inches. They're a full inch smaller, and that allows you to make you put 4 blocks together, and that allows you to make the ones that look like the log cabin is a circle, and those circles allow you to do all kinds of amazing things with just a simple log cabin block, and all you did was change the width of the strips you're using. So I hope everybody has this wonderful day on Tuesday, even though mine started out as Monday number 2. So I will see everybody out on the chat, and I don't think this video messed up anywhere. The other one was just, it's I didn't notice at one point my camera had leaned over, and so I was like, oh no, I didn't want to mess with no, that's just too, it was too, and I was like laughing, going, and I caught myself doing this, and I'm like, realized what was going on. My camera had leaned, and this was after I had videoed the whole thing, and I'm like, I am not editing this. This is just way too much to edit. I will just breathe, calm down, and redo the video. I had nothing else better to do. So remember, everybody, remember those positive vibes, and the biggest thing is, no matter what project you're doing, don't psych yourself out so bad that you doubt it. You just do it without thinking. If it's done from a pattern, just do it. Patterns are, as one of the YouTube channel, William, from My So-Called Life, as he always says, patterns are guides, and whether it's a store-bought pattern or a homemade pattern, they're simply guides, and to help you understand what you're doing, nothing more. And so, like, if you're wanting to make something, you have a pattern and you want to make something change, whether it's you're changing and making your pattern smaller or bigger. If you're using an actual pattern, say example, this was a pattern. This is just my designs I'm going to make, my quilt labels. But say this is your pattern, okay? And you have, I don't know, I'm going to use a shirt. The easiest thing to do on a pattern is take a shirt that fits you and use that as your guide. But when you're trying to edit a pattern, you don't edit on the sides. That you don't want to change what's on the side. You want to keep how the armholes are. What you want to change is the center. And usually, if you look on the center, unless they change patterns, if you look on the center of a pattern, it's the area of the pattern where they have marks with arrows. They're called dart marks. And that's usually where you put a pin in. If you look, that arrow will 99% be down the center of that pattern. But all you have to do is fold that pattern. It doesn't have to necessarily be in half as far as, and you're going to cut that pattern. Now, don't cut it if you're making it smaller. If you want to make that pattern smaller, you just kind of fold that pattern, see? So you're not changing the size, and that makes it smaller. And you're doing the same thing if you want to add to the pattern. You want to add to the center, not the sides. Because when you add to the sides, all you're doing is increasing, you're increasing this, which distorts, like if you have armholes or leg holes, it distorts this part. And that isn't, you don't want to do that. But you can take it, cut it in half, and add a piece of paper in there. Piece of paper, newsprint, anything to add to there. Freezer paper works great. Aluminum foil, if that's all you got. You're just adding, or tape, regular printer paper together. Tape, if all you got is a piece of scrap material, put a piece of scrap material in there, and kind of pin it to the fabric, or pin it to the pattern that you're using, and then you use that, or sew it to the fabric, or sew the fabric to your pattern, and then it becomes a part. Or a lot of people have like little paper sacks, like you get, use them for popcorn. They're just little sacks. They're lunch sacks, and the stores usually have them. I don't know about everywhere, but you can cut them open, and those make, a paper sack makes a great pattern for filling. But anything would work. I've tried saran wrap. Yeah, I know, that's funny. It don't work so hot because it doesn't stay, kind of stretches. But aluminum foil works great. It's not the best stuff. Freezer paper works perfect. Anything will work perfect. But again, if you're trying to increase a pattern, you want to increase it from the center, not the sides. So again, everybody, keep them positive vibes going, and just, if you're getting frustrated on a project, just take a break. Take a break, watch TV, or stare at the ceiling, or just sit back and go, breathe in, breathe out. Just don't do that if you have asthma, because you start coughing. Yeah, breathe in, breathe out. If you have asthma, you cough. That's the bad thing about asthma. So I have to be careful. So again, thank you for everyone for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Hit the like button and the subscribe button, and I'll see you out there in the Quilters channel land. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.